Thank you for being here this morning. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here for the kickoff and to begin the work that we're about to do. I know most of you, if not all of you, have begun this work and have already rolled up your sleeves and started it. But this is an important morning for us today as we get started. Thank you for being here at Bellarmine. We've got to thank Bellarmine for this. It's been a while since I've been on the basketball court. So as you know, auditorium over by Gaines is under renovation. So we were worried about where to do this year because of the amount of people. And as we were looking around late last school year as to where we could do this with this amount of people, we really didn't have a whole lot of options. And so without spending a great deal of money to, have the palace or someplace like that, which we weren't going to do, and we reached out to Bellarmine, and they gave us this opportunity to have it here. Very thankful for that. Have plenty of parking. We wanted to have this. This is so important for us this year to have this. As you all know, this is a critical year for us in the work that we do. And what I'm going to tell you is we're not today talking anything about state takeover or any of that stuff right here, because what we are here to talk about today is the work that we have to do this year, how important it is for us, and this work is going to be impacted by the environment that we are in right now, but we're not doing this work for that reason. We are doing this work because it's what we need to do and what we have to do. And it is so important today that we walk out of this facility all on the same page. And I understand there is a level of anxiety, a level of nervousness in our district that has not been there before, and many times that can be a good thing. But more importantly than anything, we are doing this work because it's what we need to do and what we have to do. And I'm going to say this often, and I've spoken to our principals, our assistant principals, our counselors, so many of you might hear the same thing again, but that's probably a good thing. We have to be the best we have ever been this year. There is no opportunity for anything else than for us to be the best that we've ever been. And then when we finish today, and so this is the only time, by the way, where I'm on a time limit, because Bellarmine moved their basketball camp out for us to be here. So they're at other gyms. I think they're over at Highland Middle School and some other places. Usually I would say I'm going to talk for an hour, and people that work for me know that could be an hour and a half or 2 hours. But I'm on a time limit today, so lucky for you, we have to be out of here. I actually have Allison down here with time cards to look, she got time cards. Now, as we get to the end and she says 0, I might keep talking. And basketball players, children might come down here and start playing, but we'll work through it. So we will be out by 9:30, but more importantly than anything, some of you have heard the message I've talking about today, but more than anything, our goal, our challenge is to walk out of here on the same page for the first time in a long time. We are going to have all of our schools on the same page with the same focus, doing the same thing. It is going to be your job to make sure that you customize it to meet your school's culture and needs. But more than anything, we're going to be on the same page. And for those of you not in a school, we must all have the same mission and the same purpose. And I have challenged our cabinet, every person at central office, I don't care what their role is, must hear what we say today and must be a part of that purpose, belief, and mission, no matter what that is, to support the work that we are doing. We must have that. And so everybody in here, more than any time else in this district, we don't need counselors and APs and principals and assistant superintendents and chiefs and everything else that we have in this district. What we need is leaders. We have to have leaders. And so I'm challenging every person in here This year, more than anything, is not a checklist of what are my responsibilities. What do I cover? What do I do? I've said this, I'm an AP and I got discipline A through M and textbooks and buses and lunch duty, second and third lunch. And when I get that done, I'm good. That's not what we can have. What we must have is 1,500 leaders leading this work that we're going to talk about today. And so more than anything else, what we talk about today is not extra stuff. This is not, oh yeah, we have our school and then we're doing some of the stuff Pollio yapped about today. This is what we do. And so when we walk out of here, we need 1,500 leaders on the same page, and that is my goal and objective for the day. All right, so I'm probably already down 5 minutes, aren't I? 10, no, I'm not that far in yet. All right, first of all, I'd like to introduce some of our board members that have been with us. I want to recognize them for their work. We know right now that more than ever, board members have been under attack, but these are people that serve you and serve our district and serve our students and are committed to helping this district, to working on improving this district. They work extremely hard at it, and they essentially volunteer for the work that they are doing. I think they get $75 a month or something like that, so they are volunteers. But I can't tell you from my perspective and what I've seen how committed they are and dedicated to the students of JCPS. So if I could, I'd like to introduce our board members that are here. We'll start with Chris Cobb. I think this is his district we're in right now. We're in your district, right? Right now, that's right. Lisa Wilner. Chris Brady. Linda Duncan is here with us. You should be sitting on this side too, right, if you want to transfer. Oh, your call there. So Diane Porter, I think Miss Porter is right back here. Let's see, Steph Horn was here. She had to leave for work, so she was here this morning to bring greetings, but she was here. And then Ben Geese is out of town, but wanted to be here with us. I think I got everybody, right? That's it. So thank you for being here to all of you. It's so important that we are a team more than ever, and I appreciate that. So you might be wondering about a little bit different than what we've done before. So I get all my, I guess, best ideas from running, and it seems to be the only time I have good ideas anymore. About a week ago, I was actually running right past this gym here, and I was thinking about what I was going to do for this. And as we know, last year I did the video, and it took off, and everybody talked about it all year, and we had the T-shirts, and I'm sitting here sweating about this. Like, how am I going to top that thing? Like, right? I mean, it was much better than I thought it would be, and how am I going to top that? And so that's not my goal necessarily to top that or get better, but I wanted us to have a message. Last year I was acting superintendent. I was just stepping into the role, and I talked a lot about culture and climate and, you know, teamwork and unity and coming every day with passion, and all of that is extremely important. Obviously, this message today is going to be a little more grounded in the things that have to happen, the things we've worked on and the things we're doing. But as I was running by, you know, I thought a lot about the history of our organization. I've been in this organization, this will be the 22nd year now, and how many people have impacted me along our pathway, my pathway, and I'm sure many of you throughout your time can think of the same thing. And I thought, you know, how many people have made a difference in the history of this organization that unfortunately, I think in the past 7, 8 years have not been recognized, have not been a part of the JCPS family, and I really wanted to change that. So I came in about a week ago and I said I want to invite every former administrator that's a principal or above back for the kickoff. So you can imagine how happy they were a week ago that I asked them all to invite. So, of course, our team hustled around and got invitations out. We made some phone calls. We did texting and everything, and blown away by the result, the amount of people that have come back to join us. And so I was looking at the list as I was yesterday and the list of people that were coming. And as I was going through the list after 22 years of all the people that have had a major impact on my career. And then I got to thinking, like, the amount of years and experience that are sitting behind us right now, the amount of hours that have been dedicated and put into the students of JCPS, you know, the amount of energy and time that this group of people have dedicated to the students and really built a foundation for what we are doing. And I think back to my time throughout my 22 years, and I remember just, and maybe I was younger, I don't know, and I'm not saying things were perfect, but I remember the pride in JCPS. I remember the pride that people had working for this organization. And I think we're getting back to that. I really do. I think despite all the challenges we have and the outside noise and everything that's going on, I feel that there's a different day and age and a different time where we have an energy and a purpose that is different than we've ever had. And walking out of here, that is so important. So I wanted to take the opportunity to honor the people that have joined us today, that have spent so much time, so many years with us. And I just wanted to introduce them quickly. I know we've had some extras join, but I will introduce those that have joined us that at least signed. And if you would, I'll read them all. We'll hold our applause to the end. So if you'd stand up as your name is called, please. Hob Miller, Teresa Meyer, Mildred Payne, Jack Jacobs, Mary Pursley, Butch Martin, David Cummings, Ted Beam, Lohelen Hambrick, and I got to stop on Miss Hambrick. She hired me as a basketball coach and a teacher at Wagner, and a couple years later promoted me to athletic director, so I don't think I'd be here without you. So thanks for coming back, Miss Hambrick. Ruth Jarrell, Dean Height, Dan McCubbin, Cheryl Rigsby, Dr. Dashner, thank you for coming. Appreciate you being back here. How many years as superintendent? 14 years. I promise it will not happen. There is no way. Absolutely not. So he holds the record, and that ain't happening. Chuck Fleischer, Marty Bell, Charlie Miller, Susan Haynes, Betty Graham, Claude Purvis, Jerry Keepers, Jim Sexton, Penny Dietrich, Barbara Harris, Frida Merriweather, Sharon Davis, John Russ, Dina Tinsley, Carol Miller, Linda Zeitz, Kirk Lattimore, Kenny Frick, Jim Watkins, and I'll stop at Mr. Watkins because when I decided I was coming to JCPS to be a teacher and hopefully a basketball coach, I went to Mr. Watkins' office and just talked before I'd even been hired about becoming a teacher and coach in JCPS. He was in the portables behind Van Hoos. Back when we had, see, some of you don't know that. There used to be portables behind Van Hoos. So thank you, Mr. Watkins. Joe Burks. I got to stop on Dr. Burks because I remember when I first became an assistant principal, and it was my first year, and Dr. Burks was the assistant superintendent of high school, and I was at Wagner. And he was coming for, at that time, what were called quality teams. They weren't PLCs, they were quality teams. JCPS was on the cutting edge at that time. This was probably 2004 or 5, and we had quality teams. And he was coming to visit one that I was running. And I was going to be great at this one, you know. Dr. Burks is coming. I'm going to be great at this one. And so I had a typical group of teachers you know, when we were first starting this quality team work that I was trying to focus them. And I walked out of there. I was like, I don't know how that went. And about 2 hours later, I got an email from him that said, that was a great quality team meeting you just ran. You're going to be a great principal. And I remember how meaningful that was for me. I still have that email. So thank you, Dr. Burks. Dina Wiseman, Julia Lewis, Joe Litke, my K-PIP mentor. Remember that? K-PIP. That was K-PIP we used to have. Kathy Sayer, Debbie Mercer, Rosemary Miller, Pat Todd, Richard Kirkpatrick, Yvette Stockwell, Kevin Nix, Jan McDowell, Janet Leitner, Verna Cahoon, Shirley Fuqua Jackson, Larry Woolridge, Opal Dawson, Tito Castillo, Patty Barron, Bryce Hibbard, Alan Whitworth, Rosalind Harrison, Buell Snyder, David Bodine, Stephanie Bateman, Mark Rose, Jan Calvert, Kathy Pendleton, got some additions, Marty Bell, Bernard Menace, Lynn Wheat. I think we're all here because of Lynn Wheat in some program or another, right? Like all of us did some kind of program. Dan Withers, Tim Healy, Janice Williams, Nancy Hotman, Carrie Peterson, Bill Routh, Bob Dearman, Marcia Doan, Jackie June, Joanna Smith, Faye Owens, Julia Randall, Ira Ebbs, Beverly Keepers. Okay, I've got one sitting, right? So, have I introduced you yet?
I think you called the wrong last name.
Okay.
Rosalind Henderson. You said Harris. So.
I must have read it. Rosalind Henderson. Everybody? Oh, Bill Eccles, Michelle Eccles. Thank you for being here. All right, and as I said, we have two board members that are also a part of them, Diane Porter and Linda Duncan. So thank you all. Can we get a round of applause for them? Thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate all that you have given for this district and what you have done. We owe you to bring back that same work and dedication and pride in JCPS. And so obviously we do it for the children, we do it for our kids, but I think we have a special history in JCPS that we have to honor through the work this year. And I know me included and all of you at one point will be a part of this over here, and we want to be always remembered as a part of the special JCPS family that I think makes us a special district. And it's going to be that pride that I think is going to carry us through a challenging year. Many challenges face us, but we're going to be better than we've ever been. And so once again, I'm going to ask you and I'm going to challenge you this year. And I know it's a challenging time, and I know there's some nervousness about the work and the expectations, but I believe this: if we are better than we have ever been, and we have 1,500 people being better than we have ever been, imagine what the impact will be on this district. 1,500 leaders being better than they've ever been. Imagine the impact it will have on teachers with 1,500 people being better than they've ever been. And then most importantly, imagine the impact that's going to be on students with 1,500 leaders being better than we've ever been. And I know that's a tall ask, but I know that we can do it. And so first of all, this reminder, which I think is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing that we can possibly do, is a commitment to professionalism. And that professionalism starts today as we start this meeting, that we have a greater sense of professionalism than we have ever had, which means we do the exact same things that we expect of students while we are in a meeting like this, and then we walk out and have a level of professionalism that is greater than any year that we've ever had. We're better at this than we've ever been. And professionalism, as I'm going to challenge you over and over again, does not mean right now. It does not mean the first day of school only. It does not mean August, September. It's every single day of the school year. 175 days of students, that we have a level of professionalism that goes beyond any other district. And if we have 1,500 leaders with a level of professionalism higher than they've ever had, then I believe the impact on this district will be great. And so that's what I'm asking of us starting now. We have greater professionals than any other district, I know that, but our level of professionalism must be greater than it's ever been. So you've heard me talk about this, many of you, and I know I've said it and I'm going to keep repeating it. We have an opportunity in this district. I know it's a challenge. I know every single day something in the media, something's happening, there's a lot of talk, it will continue on. And it's what can't distract us from what we do. But what we have is an opportunity like we've never had before. And I keep calling it our 60 minutes moment. And it might be corny and it might sound goofy, but I believe this wholeheartedly, that we have an opportunity for a 60 minutes moment in JCPS. That is not the opportunity that we've had in this district ever before. And by the 60 minutes moment, I mean that opportunity in 3 years that we will be the feature in JCPS on a show like 60 Minutes. We have that opportunity. And as I've told you, 60 Minutes is not going to feature an organization, a district, any type of company that goes from pretty good to good, or okay to pretty good. And I think we got a lot of great things in this district that we don't highlight enough, but we right now are in a very difficult situation. And so the 60 Minutes moment is a district that has been in a very difficult, challenging situation and comes out the other side a much greater organization than when it started. And I believe we have that opportunity different than any other time in our organization. This is our 60 Minutes moment. There is already a lot of buzz and talk about what we are doing and what we are about to do. And I say this, imagine what it's going to be like when we do it. And not if we do it, when we do it. I believe it 100% that this is our 60 Minutes moment. And that in 3 years, we will be highlighted on a program like that for the work, the cutting-edge, groundbreaking work that we are about to do. But one thing I've learned in this position, and you can see in this gym right here, the very difficult part of that, in a school as a principal, I could be wherever there might be a problem. So if I knew there was going to be a problem in a hallway, I'm going to that hallway. That was what I did. That's where I'm going. In a district this size, I can't do that alone, obviously. What we have to do this 60 Minutes moment is 1,500 leaders, better than they've ever been. And so I'm challenging you and ask, as a team of 1,500 leaders in here right now, this is our opportunity. But it takes every single one of us being leaders, not just a specific role, not just this is my checklist of things to do, but 1,500 leaders. And I know, like this right here, I was thinking about this when I was running in Cherokee Park. All right. Running uphill. And I was thinking, do I enjoy running uphill or downhill more? And it struck me that although running uphill, especially in Cherokee Park or Iroquois Park, if you've done that, can be miserable, right? It can be miserable, like digging up that large hill and you're at the bottom and you're looking up. But for those that are runners, there's something special about that because first of all, you're about to get to the top where there's going to be a pretty good view wherever you get to. And second of all, downhill, or cruising downhill is shortly after that. And so that's the time you really get to run, when you get to the top of that hill. And so that's what we're going to be doing this year. We've got heavy lifting to do. We got a lot of work to do. There's going to be every single school committed to this work and doing it well. Not doing it just with compliance, not adding on to just what we're doing at school, but doing it authentically and being committed to doing the work the right way. That's the uphill challenge, but when we get there, it's going to be our 60 minutes moment. I know it is. And most importantly, this is going to transform how kids learn in this district and what we do. And so it brought me back a little bit to the flywheel. I know Good to Great is many years old, probably 15 years old. But it brought me back to this, that flywheel concept of Good to Great. And we are in that very first moment of beginning to turn that wheel. And the flywheel concept is essentially that first turn is the most challenging of them all. Takes everybody behind and just getting that wheel started, pushing, grinding, the wheel started. Getting a first turn is the most challenging and difficult thing. But once you get that first turn, the second turn becomes a little easier. And the third turn is a little easier after that. And eventually you hit that point where the momentum and the weight of the wheel begins to turn quickly and move fast, and all of a sudden now you're cooking with gas. And so we are at that point where we are beginning that turn. And it takes 1,500 of us to make that turn. But I believe we're going to do it. But it's going to take everybody in here better than they've ever been to do this and get this right. And so, last year when we started and getting into the heart of what the work that we have to do, I want to be very clear about expectations, what we want to see in every school. And I believe there is a fine a pendulum, so to speak, between us in central office telling schools what they have to do. You have to do it this way. And then the other side of the pendulum is schools, everybody just do what they want. We're a district of schools, 155 of them, and hopefully you do it well, and we'll be there to provide you with, finances and staff, and, we'll stop by every once in a while. And I think the pendulum has gone too far to the district of schools. Also, though, we are not going to be a school district where we're just going to prescribe and tell you what to do. So the sweet spot is we have pillars. We have things that are important to us, that every single school, every single one of them reflects that. Like, you can walk in the school building and feel it. And there are some tight concepts that we expect to see in every school, but what we have more than anything is schools buying into it and taking these pillars and these systems that we are developing and authentically building it for their school community. And communicating with staff. This is not what central office, we can't have, well, this is what central office wants us to do, so this is what we're going to do. Instead, this is the right thing. This is what we are about in JCPS. This is our North Star. And we are going to authentically develop this and create this in our school. And it's going to be a part of our culture. And so those are the two options. And every single other person in here that's sitting in here that's not a part of a school is going to be, I'm going to help create this. I'm going to help build it. I'm going to help do this. And it reminds me of the time, whether this is true or not, but John F. Kennedy was trying to put a man on the moon. I'll get back to that in a little while because it's the most important to me. And was walking into NASA, and he saw a custodian holding a broom. And he said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm helping to put a man on the moon." And so that is the kind of attitude that we have to have with every single person, no matter what your role is, no matter what your job is. Our job is to support this work. I've told Cabinet, every single person in central office has to have a part in doing this work, not just a checklist of things to do. And so we're creating that. We need you to do that as leaders in schools or your divisions. Last year I said with Vision 2020, we have 3 things that we are concentrating on and focusing on to get better. Climate and culture, improving student learning, and improving our organizational coherence. And they were 3 big things, and we've worked on that. And I think we've made significant steps. Thanks to you, I think we've made significant strides in each one of those. And throughout last year and into this year, we have tried to build this system that is going to be very clear for schools. So I know those goals are big, lofty goals. How do I do that? And you've each worked on it. But we have worked to really drill this down into 3 pillars and 6 systems for instruction that every school creates for their own school, but is a central part of the work that they do. And if we do that, we will be successful. And so as we go through these, it's going to be so important that you authentically create these in your school. And I know many of you have already done the work. You've already begun the work. And so this is nothing new, but are the things that we have to be committed to for success in this district. And I believe if your school does these things and does them well, and it's not a checkbox to say, all right, we're good now. This is we develop this over time. But I believe when we do this, and when your school does this well, we will all be successful. And we will have that 60 minutes moment. So here are the things we walk out. You must be clear. You must have a part of your school culture. The 3 pillars. The 3 pillars that we want to see authentically in every single school. You know the backpack of success skills and what that means around transition readiness. And I'll talk a little bit about each one of these. Racial equity and ensuring that we authentically look at what we're doing in every single school. Challenge our perception and thoughts that we've had. Because in many ways right now it's not working. And we have to own that. We have to own that and think about new ways to do things. And finally, you know my commitment to culture and climate in every single school. And I will talk about that a little bit more as we get here. But these are 3 areas. Every school, every division, every person, every leader in here should be committed to the success in this organization. So whatever your job is sitting here, you should be supporting these. You must be able to talk about how I support these. You must be able, just like the custodian at NASA said, I'm helping to put a man on the moon. That's the attitude and belief that we all have to have, because I believe if we do these 3 very well, I believe we will have that 60 minutes moment. The first one, the backpack of success skills, and it focused around transition readiness. Dr. Coleman and I'll tell you this, when I brought her on, and everybody knows, she came in and started talking about, her thing was this, when a kid walks across the stage, his backpack, what do you want in their backpack? Everybody probably heard her tell the story, probably way too many times, right? She's told the story way too many times. But she kept talking about the backpack and what we want our kids to have in their backpack. And sometime last fall, I think we sat down, I don't know how it happened, and I said, I like that. How can we do that? So while every other district is developing a graduation profile, and it's a nice visual, it really doesn't mean a lot to the students, and more importantly to the teachers and how they teach. And so we decided, let's see what we can create out of this. What can we do to make something special, and most importantly, change instruction, so that when kids graduate, they have the skills that we want. And so we took our time and developed this and brought in principals and teachers and talked about it, and eventually came to this idea of a backpack. And we know we have to be, first of all, committed to students improving literacy and numeracy. We have to. And I'm not saying the other academic skills aren't important. They're very important. It's a part of the backpack. But we have been committed to making sure that kids have this foundation of math and reading. And we're going to move the needle on math and reading. You have to be committed to moving the needle when it comes to math and reading. We invested a great deal of money for K through 12 to have MAP assessment, and you have two options with that. Principals, counselors, assistant principals, you can give the assessment, you can send the kids to a computer lab, you can get it done and knock it out, and all right, let's get back to what we were doing. Or you can have it drive your instruction and drive the way you do things at your school and drive interventions and have it really based on how teachers teach. It's one of two options there. But we are committed to saying that every single student, we're going to know where they are, which we haven't done in a long time. And if a kid is in second grade, and at the end of second grade, we're going to know whether they are middle school ready or not, on track to be middle school ready. And if they are not, we're going to do whatever it takes during the school year and in the summertime to make sure that kids are where they need to be for the next transition readiness point. We have to just stop talking about being college ready. Well, we'll wait till they're seniors, and hopefully we'll scurry around a whole lot and get them college ready on the way out the door. College readiness starts at kindergarten, really pre-K, and we have to be committed to that foundation. So it's going to be a choice at every single school. How much this work drives your passion for moving, literacy, and numeracy, and being committed to doing that. The second part of that backpack is so important, and that's changing the way teachers teach. And that is having this digital backpack to support our success skills, our 5 success skills. And I brought on Kermit and Heather to really create this platform. And I'll tell you this, at the end of last year, this is what I got. I've got thick skin now. And I told the principals this. We got some, they're moving too fast on it. It will never work. We can't do this. No way. It's just another fad. It'll come and go. I can promise you, if it comes and goes, I'm sure Carmen and I have to go with it. Right? So we laugh a lot. We have risked and really put our careers on the line for this to work. And every student, 101,000, are about to have a digital backpack. And if you have seen the work, for those of you that have seen what we're about to do with Google EDU, it's awesome. It is really cool. And it is going to be transformational for this district, where kids are having authentic learning products and putting it in their backpack. And we have this one-stop shop for really this, where we can see where kids are around attendance and behavior and achievement, and we can provide those interventions. And so when I saw, I thought we'd get some, software company that would just give us a package thing. And what we have is incredible. But I will tell you this, leaders, you are going to be challenged by people in your school. It doesn't work the way I want it to. It's too difficult. It's not, something's wrong with it. Or we'll last until Labor Day or a little bit after, and then it'll go away and everybody will go back to what they're doing. And you will have two choices. One will be able to say, don't worry about it. We'll get back to it at another time. The second will be, no, I'll take care of that for you. We'll get it done. But the most important thing is the instruction that you provide is supporting a different type of learning for kids, an engagement in the classroom, an authentic engagement. As I was getting dressed today, I got all excited about this LeBron James school. If you saw the interview on SportsCenter, I got all excited about it. He made a public school. He even said, no charter, it's a public school. And these kids are going to it. And he said, we're going to do things a different way there. He said, I was a kid, and you could engage me for a little bit, Or he said, you could talk to me for a little bit, but he said, then you better get me engaged or I would be gone. And I'm like, that's my guy now right there. That is awesome. I mean, I was fired up about it. And that's what we have to do. It's getting kids engaged and doing things a different way and building skills that we want them to have. So you're going to have that choice, leaders. The other choice you're going to have, leaders, you can do this with compliance. You can tell your goal clarity coach, it's February, and 2% of our kids have put things in a backpack. And boy, we better scurry around here and get some stuff put in there, so scurry around and do it. Or it can be a part of your instructional program every day, starting 2 weeks from today, expecting teachers and students to work together to put things in their backpack that are authentic, that change the way teachers teach, the way students learn, and engage students. It's your choice. But if we want a 60 minutes moment, you've got to do it the right way and do it authentically. It's not going to be easy, I promise you that. There will be challenges. It's your decision how you handle that. But in May, understand this. In May, every 5th grader, every 8th grader, and every 12th grader in this district will be doing a defense of their transition readiness using the evidence from their digital backpack. And so I want you to see this. As of right now, we have 7,885 5th graders, 7,168 8th graders, 6,653 12th graders, for a total of 21,706 students that will be given defenses of their transition readiness in 9 months, 10 months, whatever that is, in May. Now, I've had people say it can't be done. Inside our organization, that can't be done. My answer to them is, if you don't think we can do this, then you are working for the wrong company. And you need to get a paycheck from somewhere else. And there's plenty of other places. So know this, leaders. Every single school leader in here has one of those, I think. I couldn't think of anybody that wouldn't. We might have some early childhood, and you can pitch in with us too. But any school leader has 5th, 8th, or 12th. You can look up your numbers right now and know how many kids will be giving a defense of their transition readiness in May. How they do it, how you do it at your school is up to you. It really is. You can decide that, but it must be authentic and it must be real. And I took part in public defenses of student learning in May, and it was one of the best things I did. I've said many times, I was at Carter, and I'm sitting there with the principal and the teacher and the goal clarity coach, and the kids giving a defense of their readiness for middle school, and they're all crying. And I'm looking around like, man, this is incredible. Like, the kid was crying too. It was awesome. We can do this in a good way, not a bad way. They were crying in a good way. We can do this. We can. But it takes 1,500 leaders committed to doing it well and selling it as a part of the culture at the school. Not Pollio wants us to do this. You know Carmen, she wants us to do this, so let's just get it done. We can make this happen. And I said this last week in the August edition of the American School Board Journal, publication by NSBA. There's a 4-page spread about our backpack of success skills. We haven't even started it yet. Imagine what it's going to be when we're done, when we get it done, when we do it. I mean, how awesome is that? I don't know how Carmen got the whole picture of her in there. How'd that happen? I don't know, but that's fine. But we're going to get this done. So be committed to that. Have serious discussions. You should already, but how we're implementing this. Second of all, and I know this is challenging, and we've talked about this with our principals. We had a full-day institution. Principals Institute about racial equity. And our board had the courage to pass a policy to say that we are not happy with our outcomes right now, especially with students of color. Now, we have work to do with all of our students. There is no doubt about that. But we have gaps and disproportionality that we have to own and accept and address and make plans for how we are going to change that. And that is going to require doing things differently. It really is. And having difficult conversations about the way we do things. I told principals at the Institute, and I'll share this, for 8 years as a principal at J-Town High School, I had the belief that I'm going to have high expectations. And therefore, we are going to have, if you're not in class on time, you're not going to class. You're going into a little room. And you're going to, my first year I said you're going to stand there. Finally, I said you can sit down and work, but you're not going into class. And we're going to shut the door. And it was all about high expectations. And then when I took a new principal job at Doss, I had to question myself. Is that really high expectations? What would be higher expectations? Higher expectations, putting them in class. You're going to class whether you like it or not. I'm putting you in there. That's higher expectations. And so I changed my way of thinking and said, every single adult in this school is going to be mobilized throughout the school. I don't care what you do. You are going to be mobilized. Yeah, there's going to be a consequence for being late. We have high expectations. We'll develop a consequence for that after so many times. But when everybody is in the hallways, everybody is getting kids. You know, we had the system with Hero. You're going to get a note quick, and we're going to walk you right into class and put you in that chair. And if you need a pencil, we'll give it to you. If you need paper, we'll give you that too. But you're going to be in that chair, and you're going to be learning. And I have to think back. Like, what is higher expectations? And so much of our mindset gets locked into this is the way we do things. And some might be right, but some aren't. And so we have to be willing to explore and look at ways to do things differently that might impact outcomes for certain groups, especially students of color. We have to be willing to do that. And I'm going to challenge you and say this. This is the one reason I'll bring in the state. You can do it for one of two reasons. The first reason is that we're not happy with outcomes for students of color. We are not happy. We're not happy with the achievement gaps. We can't accept it. We're not willing to accept it because it's not right for children the way we have it right now. Or the second reason is we don't have any choice because we're getting beat over the head about our achievement gap and disproportionality. I hope it's the first. I really do, because it is for me. But either way, we have to do this work. We have to do it. We are building the supports. We are doing it at central office. I've challenged principals to do two things with this. So yes, it's a big deal, and it's difficult and challenging. But two things, and I need 1,500 leaders behind this work. The first thing is know your data well. And I don't mean just sit in your office and look at it. I mean have a group, a committee, a leadership team, whatever it might be, to look at your data and say, where do we have gaps in disproportionality, and understand that and own it. And second of all is to make a plan. Make a plan. How are we going to change this? So if I look at our gifted and talented numbers, our AP numbers, our IB, whatever you have, and 85% of them are white students, yet the demographics of our schools say 50% students of color, we have a gap issue. And therefore, it would be important to look at how we select gifted and talented, AP, whatever it might be. And I'm not saying we don't have high standards. We do. But we have to look at ways and possibly call in assistants, assistant superintendents, diversity, equity, and poverty, other supports, and say, what's a better way for us to do this? What is a better way? Help us. That's hard work to do. That's difficult. But how do we do that? And so around 4 areas: achievement, behavior data, attendance, identification for gifted or talented. And really, this is where it intersects with the backpack, because we have to ask ourselves, what kids in our school are getting deeper learning opportunities? You know where we usually are? AP, IB, gifted and talented are getting that robotics and all of those deeper learning opportunities. And our other students that are not in those are getting compliant work. And so you have to be willing to explore that and look at that. I heard, everybody know what this is? If you can see that up there, that's a curb right there. And there's, you see that little cutout there? It's called a curb cutout. And I was at Harvard in May, and I heard the CEO of an organization speaking, and she was speaking about equity and how important it is for everybody, not just the group that is being identified as inequitable, that they're having inequitable outcomes. And she talked about the curb cutout effect. And so you all probably know this and don't even realize, if you're walking, running, doing anything, you get to an end of a curb where a street is, and it's cut out and down a little bit. Almost every street now has them. It's called curb cutouts. They were made in the 1950s, a city in Michigan, when World War II vets came back, and many of them were in wheelchairs. They could not be on the sidewalk and get to the end of a curb because their wheelchair would obviously not be able to go down and then up on the sidewalk. And that became, they built that in Michigan, and then over the next quarter of a century, that became a huge deal for people with disabilities, was curb cutouts. But then if you think about it, how many people have been positively impacted outside of that group because of curb cutouts? Imagine children riding bicycles all over that now don't have to ride in the street, but actually ride down the sidewalk and are able to go down the curb cutout and back up the next curb. Parents with strollers, people who work, delivery people that do that. We could honestly say, and I believe this, many lives have been saved because of curb cutouts. Even though that wasn't the intended outcome, I believe we could easily say lives have been saved because of curb cutouts. And I believe this wholeheartedly, that if we do the racial equity work and policy with authenticity and do it right, every school will be impacted positively and every student will be impacted positively, whether it's the students of color that we're talking about or all students. There will be a positive impact on all 101,000 students, and that is the curb cutout effect. I believe it will happen in JCPS if you do it right and well. And here is your choice, leaders. You can look at your data, you can make a plan, you can put it on the shelf. It can be CSIP-like, right? It'd be CSIP-like where, all right, we did it. Or it can be an authentic plan where we say we have a group that meets every day, that works together, that, not necessarily every day, but monitors the plan, works the plan, tracks how we're doing data-wise, adjusts the plans, and it becomes a reality in your school. That is the important work, and I believe it'll have the curb cutout effect. There has been research come out recently, several research articles, major studies about the impact of culture on achievement. It has been shown to be one of the most, if not the most important work that a principal can do to change achievement in a school. And I shared with principals at the end of the year, University of Chicago did a study of their schools and those that had positive achievement and those with positive culture and climate. are the ones that had the highest academic achievement growth. So this is not warm and fuzzy. This is not make everybody happy. This is the foundation for achievement in your school. And so I challenge you to continue this work. And a few things I'm just going to say, as we've talked about it a lot. I challenge you as leaders. Are you coming to school every day with passion and fire? People see when you don't. Are you coming every day with passion and fire? You might be driving on the expressway inside. I mean, my steering wheel has hand grips on it because I grip the steering wheel so tightly when I drive. So like it's rubbing off and like right there where I hold it. But when I get out of the car, I've got to be, this is great, let's do this. Passion and fire every day. We cannot be this year to be better than we've ever been, dragging in because it's Monday and really happy because it's Friday. What does that say to kids and teachers? We can't do that. We must have passion and fire every day. Secondly, whatever you plan, leaders, you must do it for 175 days. I don't care if it's homecoming, if it's whatever a-thon in the elementary school that you have, testing, like whatever you have. We cannot postpone what you do. So when you get your teachers together this week, next week, and opening days, whatever you say you're going to do, the 3 pillars, you must do it every day. You must be committed. You must have a system to get together and say, are we doing this like we said we were doing? Or we'll do that thing again where we do it for the first 6 weeks, then it fades away, and then about March we'll start talking about next year again. Right, wait till next year. Leaders, you must support that culture. You must be committed to giving feedback to your people. Every single person. How are they supporting that work? Feedback, ongoing feedback. That is going to be the commitment that we must give to every single person. You must develop that North Star for every single person in your organization, leaders. You must develop that purpose, that belief of why we're here, and you must reinforce it every single day. There's many more things I could talk about culture, but it is critical that we do not lose focus of that as we do the other things. Finally, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but we have really worked on systems. I'm a believer wholeheartedly in systems. Without systems, you say you're going to do something, and then you don't do it. With systems, you do things. You do them all the time, and you do them whether you're present or not. A system works when all the administrators are busy doing something else, and the system still happens. It's not a system if it doesn't happen when you're not there. And everything you do is about systems. And we have developed 6 systems for a strong learning climate. Without one of them, you won't have a successful learning climate or instructional program in your school. We must have 1,500 instructional leaders in here. We must have 1,500. No matter what your job is, no matter what you do, no matter what your checklist is, we must have 1,500. Principals, assistant soups will be working with these 6 systems. It should be ongoing systems to better and work on how we improve teaching and learning in our schools. And so really that's what it comes down to. Those 3 pillars and these 6 systems of instruction. And if you do those well, you will have success in your school. And Vision 2020 will come to life. That's essentially what we're down to. And so finally, I'm going to say this, and I didn't want to put compliance up here, but instead commitment to doing things the right way. More than ever in this organization, we have to be committed to doing things the right way. We can call it compliance if we want, but more importantly, it's doing things the right way. So if doing things the right way is entering data a certain way, then enter it that way each and every time and have fidelity for 175 days. If it is being trained, then be trained and do it right. if it is students having proper IEP paperwork, data collection, ARC meetings, manifestations, we all know you got two options with that. We can check the boxes and do it halfway, or we can do it the right way, because that, not because, well, we're under, possible state management, because it's the right thing to do. And that's our choices. If it's I'm supposed to be doing walkthroughs in classes, but I'm busy and I'm tired and I got too much going on, that's not doing things the right way. So it's your commitment to doing things the right way. That is so critical. We have no other option right now. Number one, because we have to do it the right way for our students, and number two, because we are in a time where doing it the wrong way is not an option. So I'm asking for 1,500 people committed to leading that in their schools. And so I did the same thing for Cabinet that I'm going to ask you to do. Make a commitment to be better than you've ever been. Make that commitment. And I did this with Cabinet. What are some of the things we're committed to? We're going to be the most passionate, committed, and inspired professionals every hour of every day. We're going to do that. I've put new expectations. We're going to do that. We're going to foster a positive culture by instilling purpose in every educator. And somebody said, what about employees? I said, no, we're all educators. Everybody in JCPS is an educator. But we're going to have purpose. We're going to hold ourselves accountable for student success. So in our Cabinet meetings now, every meeting is going to be about data and checking where we are. And if we're not there, why aren't we there? And if something's not going right, then we're getting out and doing it. We're figuring it out. But we're holding ourselves accountable. We're going to have difficult conversations and provide feedback to everybody. That's happening. We're going to be in schools and tear down silos, so no longer is it going to be operations or finance or data and evaluation or academics. We're all in it for the same goal, and we're working together for this. And finally, provide clear, consistent, and defined expectations about what constitutes success. And I was going to have each one of them come up here and say, how are you going to be better than you've ever been this year? But for the sake of time and their sanity, I didn't do that. But I would challenge you to do the same thing with your staff. What expectations are you going to have? How are you going to be better than you've ever been? And how are you going to hold yourself accountable when it's late October and kids are being kids and it's busy and we'll wait till later? How are you going to hold yourself accountable? I did want to follow up with this. One of the ways, we get hammered about administrators and their pay and JCPS and all of this. And I decided, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to start this. We're going to have a scholarship fund that's really going to be administrator driven. It'll be better than we've ever been. And each and every year we're going to give, I'm hoping we can give 3 $10,000 to $15,000 scholarships to children who wouldn't have access to college otherwise, and it's going to be from JCPS administrators. We're going to send them to college for that. And just imagine if every person in here, and we will send out the link later today, that we're going to ask you, if it's $2 a paycheck, $5, $10, whatever you can give, and you feel comfortable giving anything, then it's going to go to that. And at the end of the year, we're going to have a big celebration where the administrators of JCPS send 3 kids off to college. And it's going to be awesome. So I ask for your support on that. And as I conclude, I know I probably ran out of time a while back, but that's okay. We have no other choice here. And I know it's a little scary and it's a little challenging and wonder what this is going to mean for everybody. Expectations are higher than they've ever been. What has to happen in every school is greater than it's ever been. Asking for professionalism is higher than it's ever been. But if we are all the best we have ever been, we're going to have that 60 minutes moment. We really are. And I always wanted to conclude with a quote, and I was going to do something different, but I keep coming back to John F. Kennedy's quote. because it's so fitting for us. And I showed it last year, but it's so fitting for us. It's like he's speaking to us right now. And if you don't know about this quote, in 1961, really the Soviets, everyone in America was obviously scared about this Cold War developing with the Soviets and what was happening in space. And they seemed to be winning this. And the Bay of Pigs had happened for Kennedy, and so he was going through tough times. And he had a choice to make. And he went down to Texas to give a speech. And he gave this speech that had this quote in it, and it is so meaningful for us. We choose to go to the moon. I mean, that's what he said, and people are like, what? We choose to not just go to space and match the Soviets, but we choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. Now think about that. We could easily, all this work, say we're going to implement it over the next few years. We're going to have some pilot schools. Some people are going to do it well, but most kids won't get it. We'll take our time on it. We're not doing that. We are unwilling to postpone this. And this is one we're going to win. I know we are. We're going to have our 60 Minutes moment, and I'm so excited about the work. I can't thank you enough ahead of time for being the best you've ever been, and I know this is going to be step one on our 60 Minutes moment. Thank you, guys.